Well, I think it's time to get ready for the second wave of not only the virus, but of the economic depression. The first wave of the depression came when we had all of these, layoffs and things and furloughs as a result of the shutdown. And this most heavily impacted low-income people because in a lot of higher-income brackets, you have folks who can, if they have to, work from home. These are people who work at a desk all day anyway, so they would just have to work from their home computer, and they can still get things done. And so a lot of them were able to, stay employed, all else equal. However, for lower-income people who work in, more physical jobs that actually have to, are tied directly to their place of work, people who work in grocery stores or Walmart or any other place like that, or in factories, they simply cannot do their job. And even if their business is still open, the one that they work at, there's going to be reduced hours. They're going to need a lot less people. Think of all the waiters and waitresses, the bartenders. Bartenders haven't worked anywhere. They have it even worse than the waiters and waitresses. And so you have all these folks just sitting at home, and the only thing they can do is collect their unemployment plus their $600 a month. And even with, the massive unemployment, that massive amount of money just being printed by the Fed has been able to sustain consumption. Because some people even are making more money now on unemployment than they were before, and I've discussed the problems with that and how that could lead to consumer price inflation. But for the most part, the consumption of higher income people who still have their jobs are not being subsidized by this this massive unemployment benefit handout. No, because if they still have their job, they're not receiving unemployment. So rather, what is sustaining them is the fact that there hasn't been a stock market crash. There was a big dip at first, but then we had this massive, off the March lows rally, which many characterized as a bear market rally, but nevertheless it gave people confidence that, hey, even though there's all this turmoil in our country and in the world, well, at least my assets are safe, and this improves consumer confidence. And so all in all, even though, the first wave of this depression, and I'm calling it a depression for a reason, is so catastrophic, unemployment is way higher than it's ever been in than most people's lifetimes. And of course, the unemployment number, there's been plenty of stories written about this now. This latest unemployment number from last month is just completely false, so far removed from reality. The way that they mispolled people and then underestimated it. I mean, even the Bureau of Labor Statistics was admitting it on the day that it was released that, hey, these numbers are not accurate. Well, now, I mean, it goes without saying that unemployment did not decline as the number indicated. It is much higher than 14.7% now. It's not lower than 14.7%, which had been the rate of unemployment from the previous month. But anyway, with all that said, things were not as painful as they might have been because of, those two factors, the $600 a month checks to the unemployed, and then the massive rally in the stock market, which, helps all the higher income people. Well, now it looks like we're at the end of that bear market rally, and that stocks are going to start heading down again, which is the direction that they should be headed in a depression, you would think. I mean, we're seeing companies file for bankruptcy left and right, and yet, that doesn't stop their stock from going to the moon. Just look at Hertz. In a few years, Hertz is going to be one of those case studies that people look back at as just a sign, of how crazy this era was. Hertz is a bankrupt company, and their stock went up over 100%. And they're actually selling new stock now into the market, which is not something you usually do when you're in bankruptcy, because when you go into bankruptcy, what usually happens is the stockholders lose all of their equity. But, that was before, what happened last week, and now it looks like this week that's continuing. Here in Florida, which is one of the states which, economically has not been impacted nearly as much as a lot of the others by the whole shutdown, because our shutdown was much more limited to begin with, and then we opened up much quicker. We are experiencing some pretty high rates of infection with the virus. We keep setting new records for daily infections. And so, if folks on Wall Street were thinking that the virus had been contained and that it was going to start, the numbers were going to start declining, that's just not the case. I mean, to me, what's changed is not that, the virus isn't going to spread. That's not what I've been thinking. I just have become less worried about the effects of it. Relative to the effects of these massive, totalitarian shutdowns, which, of course, at this point are politically impossible. I mean, you see up in New York, home of Wall Street, Andrew Cuomo saying, hey, any of you businesses trying to operate, you're going to get shut down and go to jail, and so don't even try it. At the same time, when there's this, this massive rally with thousands of people, protesting for, I'm not making this up, black trans lives. You definitely know that there got to be some white people organizing that. I mean, how many black folks are you going to have get out there who are just so passionate for black trans lives? And so the lockdowns have been over for a number of weeks now. In reality, the governors are not going to be able to push this any further than they already have. If they really try and oppress the right wing, i.e., people who have small businesses, the bourgeoisie, as the leftists would call them, and while letting all the leftists go out there and riot and destroy things, well, then you're going to get your right-wing mobs rising up to fight them. And I don't see that the governor's pushing that hard. Certainly not in my state. I don't think that DeSantis is going to try and crack down on things again. He was reluctant to do it the first time. But even without those artificial restrictions from the government, cracking down even more, there's been enough damage done at this point to where, things really have to break down and reset. You've got a lot of bankruptcies now. You've got so many businesses that have laid off their workforces who are just hanging on to their last couple dimes. And so one way or the other, Wall Street is going to have to price in all this carnage on Main Street in some way. And when they do, if that's what we're witnessing now, if we're witnessing the next big drop-off in the price of stocks, well, then that is what's going to really, put the pain to the higher-income people. We're going to see a lot less folks, say, for example, moving out of the cities because they're worried about riots and buying houses in the suburbs. Folks won't have the money for that if their assets dry up. People will not be making big purchases. They will be probably saving some money if they can. Because we have this hyper-financialized economy. The average person, I think, has no idea how important, financial markets are to the health of our economy. And I don't say that as, hey, I want these things to go higher. I say it as, hey, we've got this big fat bubble which risks, bursting our entire economy, which is reality. As far as I'm concerned, economically, we've been in kind of a lull since March because of the rise in the stock market. That's given such a lift to people that it has dulled a lot of the pain that is occurring underneath in the real economy. And so when this rising tide recedes, it will reveal all the shipwrecks in the harbor. Once this I guess, financial morphine, all of these overvalued assets, once that wears off, people will start to feel the pain that has been there all along. So with that said, if you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.